Good morning. I'd like to call the meeting of the Committee of the Whole to order. And I would like to begin with doing the land acknowledgement. So I'd like to begin by acknowledging the municipality of Jasper is on Treaty 6 and 8 territories, as well as the Jasper House Métis District. This land is the traditional territory, meeting ground, gathering place, traveling route, and home for the Danza, Assiniboine-Winewak, Assiniboine Neha, Nehewak, Anishinaabe, Secwepemc, Iakawich-Stabi, Mountain Métis, and Métis. The municipality of Jasper acknowledges the land to honor the relationship Indigenous peoples have with this land, to remind us of our responsibility and obligations to this place and to Indigenous peoples, and to affirm our accountability to address the ongoing impacts of colonization that continue to affect Indigenous peoples. So we'll move on to the agenda. If everyone's had an opportunity to review that, are there any additions to the agenda? Councillor Roger.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to add to the add to the agenda a motion that I'm going to bring to direct a review of the planning and development budget for 26 to 30. I can read the motion later if you like, or now.
No, I just need to add it. Sorry, I think we just need to add it to the agenda at this point. Okay. So that would be under new business. So 7.3 new business. Thank you, Councillor Roger. Any other additions? Okay, could I have a motion then, please, to approve the agenda, or to approve the addition to the agenda to begin with? Councillor Frechette, thank you. All in favor? Motion carried. Then can I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended? Councillor Hall, all in favor? Approved. We move then on to item 4, December 9th, Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Are there any, is there any business arising from those minutes? Seeing none, then I move on to delegations. And I see no one in the gallery, so I'm assuming we can move on then to item 6, correspondence. And we have a letter there from Parks Canada regarding the land use policy amendments. Thank you, C.L. Given.
Thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Waxer. So the letter here is actually really just closing the loop on some work that came actually, I think, from the past council. The past council held a public hearing after some extensive public engagement. And at that public hearing, at the close of that public hearing, council recommended some land use policy changes to Parks Canada. They have worked with the Urban Design and Standards Department, and I think that their work is actually nicely acknowledged in the superintendent's letter. The Urban Design and Standards Department actually worked up the specifics and recommended them forward to Parks Canada. The superintendent here is essentially saying, thank you for those inputs. We have accepted a number of the recommendations, I think 9 out of the 13 that were made, and that those are now an official part of the land use policy. So that essentially closed the loop on a process that started last term. And I think it demonstrates the current process that's required for making changes to land use policy. We certainly appreciate the participation of Parks Canada and their commitment to working with the municipality. and the public. It also, though, I think shows that there's a pretty long cycle to these types of changes, especially when we have to work through 2 orders of government to process them. That said, I think that this is a happy outcome for everyone involved, and I think that from an administrative perspective, I would say my congratulations to Dr. Sanders and her department, as well as the Parks Canada team for working towards this ultimate result. So it really is just closing the loop on this motion and recommendation request that came from last council to Parks Canada.
Thank you, CA Ogden. Are there any questions? And do we require a motion now? Yeah, if someone willing to make a motion, we accept this correspondence for information. Thank you, Councillor Melnick.
If I may also, in making that motion to accept this correspondence, I just want to highlight a couple of items in the letter that in our recovery, I think we need to keep top of mind. And one of those is the contribution of the 4.25 hectares of land and procurement of 400 interim housing units by Parks Canada, true partnership, tremendously helping our recovery. And as we'll see later in today's meeting, I also want to highlight the contributed land valued at $2.125 million for $1 to support the affordable housing development. I think those 2 points in this letter, in particular, need to be highlighted about the ongoing relationship and constructive cooperation with Parks Canada as we move forward. So I'm happy to make the motion to receive this letter for information.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick, for your wisdom in highlighting those facts. I appreciate that. Sorry, Councillor Paul.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxford. I also echo Councillor Melnick's sentiments. I think that Parks Canada has been a very strong partner in recovery, and if anything, silver lining is our relationship with Parks has really been strengthened through this event.
If there's no other comments, then I'll call the question. All in favor? Thank you. We move on then to new business, and the first item of business is 7.1, the partnership memorandum of understanding to redevelop Anglican and United Church lands. And that will be Director Sanders. Thank you. Sanders, sorry.
Oh, good. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Waxer. So over the last number of months, the Anglican and United Churches have been gathering with the support of a consultant to go through a series of processes to decide their way forward to redevelop both lands. All buildings on both properties were destroyed by the fire in 2024. The end result of their exploration has been a request to us. So there was a letter to council at the end of 2025, and then it's been to administration to explore what the options are to move forward to explore a partnership. So the proposal before you today is for administration to work with the 2 congregations to develop a memorandum of understanding to figure out what partnership could look like. So there are a number of, qualities or characteristics of partnerships we expect to explore with the congregations and documented in MOU. So things like shared principles, values, and objectives, articulate what those things are. Articulate also clearly the roles and responsibilities of each partner in a possible partnership. And then also to identify the specific resources that each partner could contribute. In addition, we want to have an agreed upon approach to early stages of partnership. And we also want to look squarely at preliminary financial and risk considerations for all parties. So that would be both congregations, but also whatever mechanism the municipality would choose to use. And then also identify next steps and actions that need to be taken. So those are the kinds of information we would expect to be in the MOU, but for additional clarity for council At this stage, the request for decision is just simply to explore what partnership could look like and document it. And further decision-making would come to council for sure. So, this simply requests authorization for administration to work with the congregations and craft an MOU. And once developed, the proposed MOU would be brought to council for approval. And then, of course, any legal agreements, financial arrangements, all of that sort of stuff would come at a later date, always requiring council approval. So at this point in time, we're simply requesting your direction and authorization for administration to work with the two congregations. And we hope and anticipate that this working on a partnership would facilitate some of the ideas and dreams that the two congregations have about redeveloping the site, and a legacy being in particular an inclusive multi-faith worship space. We're imagining that that is obviously something that needs to be redeveloped on the site, but reconfigured perhaps with some other opportunities for development on the site. Lots of ideas floating around. Community engagement would need to take place, but at this point in time, we're simply seeking direction from committee to work with the congregations and craft the beginnings of a partnership. That concludes my remarks at this time, open to questions.
Thank you, Director Sanders. It looks like Councillor Roger is first up with questions.
Yes, I just wanted to be careful with the word partnership. I was involved, or am involved with the Senior Society, so we had some discussions with the church earlier on. And I think now it's good that the town is getting involved, but I'm not sure that you want to be in a situation where you're tied to the church forever. I think the idea was that the two churches presently have 2 bits of land, and one of the pieces would go over to another body to develop. I don't think you want the church with you the whole way. So the word partnership, I'm not sure is appropriate here.
So,
Yes, through you, Deputy Waxer, to Councillor Roger. At this stage, what we would like to do is define what relationship would be. So partnership may or may not be the right word, but what we really want to focus on, who's contributing what, who's willing to contribute what, how would it go forward, and then of course come to you for decisions. So I appreciate that guidance and advice, Councillor Roger.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Ireland.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer, through you to Director Sanders. And following on Councillor Rogers' comments, 4 councillors, including myself, met with the seniors yesterday, and they expressed that they still have an ongoing interest in something potentially on those lands. So as part of the discussions developing the MOU, I would encourage under item 2, where you've got roles and responsibilities of each party, some discussion about whether other parties might be included, and whether as partners or contributors or something else, but that could include the seniors. They have an ongoing interest, but they're otherwise not engaged through this process. And then additionally, there may yet be an opportunity, although the window is, I think, quickly closing, to include the government of Alberta, because it has the adjoining site. And I have seen plans developed in the community of a large scale redevelopment of that entire triangular body encompassed by Mayette, Turret, Spruce, and Geeky. Which would include the government of Alberta lands, the site of Pine Grove Manor. So it's possible that the province could be a party. I understand they're keen to get going with their own development, but with common boundaries, it's possible to think in a different scale and really develop that entire parcel to the benefit of the community. So in the discussions with the churches, I would encourage some discussion about whether others could or should be included.
Deputy Mayor Waxer through to Mayor Ireland will certainly take that under advisement. I have seen construction plans for Pine Grove and it's well advanced. They're way ahead than we are, but that does not negate any partnership on the other land. So thank you very much.
Councillor Fischett.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer. Through you to Director Sanders. The parcel that is already in place, the design for the Pine Grove piece. I understand there is quite a comprehensive design already. And one of the concerns that we heard yesterday from the seniors was there doesn't appear to be, or the question was, I suppose, was there any consideration for their short-term meeting area for them to utilize in anticipation of waiting for the more comprehensive project to be completed? I think obviously they're using the municipal office space now, which we would like for office space, I suppose, down the road. Whether or not there's an opportunity to revisit or maybe make some additions or changes to the Pine Grove design now that may help facilitate their short-term needs. They're quite concerned about it. I know they have an extended contract with us for, I think, 2.5 years. But of course, the space they're using is perfect for them, and we understand that. But of course, our needs are pretty paramount also. Anyway, that would be my question, whether or not there's any way that we could revisit the Pine Grove design.
Deputy Mayor Waxer, through you to Councillor Fischett, we're not in a position to direct design or redesign, and my gut reaction is we want that building to proceed so that we can have housing. What I would like to do is I can make some connections between the seniors group and the Government of Alberta project manager, because there may be some accommodation there. But I don't know firsthand. I have a little bit of an inkling that maybe something could be done, but I'll just make that connection between the seniors group and the project manager for Pine Grove, and we can get some concrete information that could be helpful.
Yes, thank you for that. I think it would, if nothing else, it would certainly provide some peace of mind. I think that there's definitely a palatable concern on behalf of our seniors. They certainly don't need a large space. I think it's probably in the measure of maybe 500 square feet. It's pretty small. Really, what we heard is the access to street level. Obviously stairs is not a possibility, and a washroom, maybe a small kitchen. Anyhow, it's just food for thought. I appreciate it's not our property, but if there's any chance of influencing or maybe giving some short-term concerns for that group, certainly that space could be utilized for the people that will be living there. Thank you, Director Sanders.
Are there any other questions or comments? Is there a councillor? Sorry.
No,
Okay.
you're gonna ask if we wanna make a motion.
Yeah, absolutely.
I move that we make a motion to direct administration to look into a partnership with two churches in mention, memorandum of understanding to redevelop the Anglican and United Church lands.
Any debate? Mayor Ireland.
Perhaps just as formality and a friendly amendment to add to the motion, directing administration to work with the churches to prepare an MOU and return to a future committee meeting. Because we're not authorizing the execution of an MOU. We expect it to come back here.
You're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Motion carried. We move on then to 7.2, Connaught Below Market Housing Development Project Update. And I believe that Leanne Pelche will be speaking to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and members of Council. The report before you provides an update on the Connaught Below Market Housing Development. The project is a low-rise rental housing development intended to increase access to safe, secure, and affordable housing in Jasper. It responds to a long-standing housing shortage and supports the community's recovery following the 2024 wildfire. The development is the first residential property undertaken by the Jasper Municipal Housing Corporation, a municipally controlled corporation established to deliver long-term housing solutions for the community. Construction is currently underway. The project will deliver 40 below-market rental units made up of 1 and 2 bedroom homes to support eligibility for funding programs and help reduce long-term operating costs. The building does have some unique accessibility and energy efficient features. Construction began in summer of 2025 and continues to progress as planned. Foundational work is substantially complete with grade beams and the north foundation complete. The remaining foundation work is underway with winter heating in place. Site infrastructure, including retaining walls, drainage, and backfilling, is also advancing. Framing is set to start, and prefabricated wall panels will begin arriving later this month. The project remains on track for completion in January of 2027. All rents will be set below median market rent, ranging from 60 to 90% of MMR, median market rent, in accordance with funding and land lease requirements. Rental bands and associated income thresholds will be set to meet funder requirements as the building nears completion. Tenant eligibility criteria and the application process will be finalized and communicated through municipal channels as occupancy approaches. The total project budget is 21 million, including contingency and soft costs. Contributions have been confirmed or conditionally approved for the total budgeted amount from multiple sources, including the Alberta Affordable Housing Partnership Program, the CMHC Affordable Housing Fund, and the Housing Accelerator Fund. Administration is also pursuing potential cost savings through a provincial solar generation incentive program. Overall, the Connaught project continues to progress as planned, and administration will report back to council should any material changes arise. Finally, a construction site camera has been installed on Connaught Drive to provide a live stream of the project through the municipal website. The live feed is scheduled to go live tomorrow, and we invite residents to check in often to view construction progress. Thank you, and I am happy to answer any questions. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Frechette, all that.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor Waxer. And through you to Ms. Pelkey, thank you so much for the update on the project. I'm certainly more enlightened now than I was prior to it. You mentioned the percentages of income based on the MMR, I believe you said. Do we have the MMR that we're using? What number is that?
Deputy Mayor Waxer, through you to Councillor Frechette. The MMR median market rate is calculated by several agencies in the province and federally, both the Government of Alberta and CMHC. Because Jasper's population is under 10,000, we don't have specific information for Jasper from CMHC. The government of Alberta did not conduct the apartment rental and vacancy cost survey last year, recognizing that Jasper was recovering from the fire. So we're currently using 2023 numbers, which are from the government of Alberta. A one bedroom, the MMR is 1,575, and a two bedroom is 1,700. So rents would be set between 60 and 90% of the most recent figures that the government of Alberta has.
So 60 to 90% of those figures?
Those figures, yes.
So that figure, if it, I think you said 1,500 for the one bedroom. So it would be 60 to 90% of that number.
Of that, the government of Alberta may provide updated amounts, but this is the numbers that we currently have.
Okay, so these numbers are not affixed to Jasper's rents per se. This is a standard from the province.
Deputy Mayor Waxer, through you to Councillor Frechette. These data sets are specifically Jasper. Each community in Alberta is surveyed, and the government of Alberta releases the apartment vacancy and rental cost survey for all communities under 10,000 to provide data that the CMHC does not collect.
Okay, thank you. And just one more, if I may. So this is just the rental piece. There's no utilities affixed to that. That's just the rental.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Waxer. Thank you for the update, Ms. Pelche. It's a very exciting project. I'm also very happy to hear there'll be cameras on site, and that might help with security. My question is about a funding source. The CMHC repayable loan, is it in fact a loan, or will we be taking out venture for that? I'm just curious what that is.
Deputy Mayor Waxer, through you to Councillor Hall. We're currently working through CMHC's final underwriting process. Letter of intent has been issued. In that letter, they indicated that funding in the amount of $9 million would be a loan and $5 million would be a grant. The loan would be carried by the Jasper Municipal Housing Corporation with terms of 5 to 10 years, amortized over 49 years.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So it wouldn't touch our municipal debt load. Thank you.
Mayor Ireland.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer, through you to Ms. Pelche. Just expanding on Councillor Frichette's question about rents. I understand it may change. They may do a subsequent survey about Jasper rents. Do you understand why median and not average, for example, and what difference that might make in this case? So that, as I understand, the median is the one where there are as many above as below, but it's not necessarily the average. Do you know why the government uses median and not average?
Deputy Mayor Waxer, through to Mayor Island. I'm sorry, I do not know why that is their choice for the data set. Sorry.
That's fine. The second question is with respect to eligibility criteria, which is set in the report by the funders. And the funders are both government of Alberta and federal government. Is there consistency in their criteria? And if there is not, which one takes precedence?
Deputy Mayor Waxer, through to Mayor Ireland. There are similarities. Both require a level of affordability and a depth of affordability, but how that is measured is different. Also, the rental amounts that each organization use are different. So as administration, we will be very thorough as we set up eligibility, rents, income thresholds to ensure that we meet all of the funders' requirements as set out in the agreement.
Well, I assume it might land on you to do the administration, so I'm just looking to see whether there is any degree of clarity or whether we could discuss with funders what criteria are appropriate. Otherwise, it just seems to me that you might be forced to spin a bit to get the job done.
Deputy Mayor Waxer through to Mayor Ireland. As part of our application process, I did have to complete pro formas showing financial viability where I incorporated all of the different requirements. And so it is possible, and I do have a draft version. And it showed in the pro forma that it was a financially viable project. So I'm confident that we can address all of the funders' requirements.
Yeah, I am encouraged by your confidence. I'm sure you can do it. It just seems to me that there, with two funders, it would be helpful to have more clear guidelines to save you some of the work that you've already had to do.
CAO.
Deputy Mayor Waxer, I'll just step in on Ms. Peltier's behalf because I think she's not going to say it maybe quite as clearly as I would. It is very, very complicated. They both have their different sets of rules, and we're obligated to meet them both. And so, Mayor Ireland, you said that the administration may be spinning, or they may be spinning trying to meet them. The spinning's already been done. And kudos to Leanne in getting us to this point where we've got a project that is funded by two different levels of government with two different sets of requirements, and it's committed in moving forward. So it has not been easy, and my appreciation to Leanne for all of the work, the number of spreadsheets that she had to work to make sure that the proposals fit both sort of requirements was pretty considerable. And so. And so we're beyond that point now. I think the underlying issues the council might want to, sort of be mindful of that are not necessarily about the project itself, because it is sustainable, according to all the work that Leanne has done, is sort of what do, going forward for future projects, what are the requirements that any order of government might impose upon us, and how are other orders of government assessing what rents look like in Jasper. At the federal level, we're too small, we kind of get missed. They don't really collect data at the scale of Jasper. They do municipalities, I believe, 10,000 and over. CMHC will collect rental data. Alberta does data on communities of all sizes, but they have specifically excluded Jasper and Banff because they know that we're such outliers that we throw off provincial averages. And so those are two sort of separate issues, CMHC collecting data or figuring out how to handle a place like Jasper, which is such an outlier when they don't collect data at the 5,000 population level. And at the provincial level, going to the province saying, well, if we're such an outlier, what do we do about that when you collect your provincial data? But again, neither of those really impacts the current project. We're obligated to meet all the provincial and federal rules. We are meeting them. But for sustainability of other projects in the future, those are two sort of systemic issues that council might want to address.
Thank you, and kudos to Ms. Peltier for the spinning that she's already successfully accomplished.
Councillor Frechette.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer, and to you too, Ms. Peltier. I guess the assurances that would make me comfortable is the fact that this housing, which is very much needed and appreciated. So the criteria for occupancy will, I guess my point is, it will be for people who really need to be in that kind of housing. In terms of what I mean is, they're not going to have people that will outstrip the income stream. They have more income than they should have to be in there. I think historically we've seen with the co-op model, people occupying co-ops that clearly had a larger income than I think the spirit of that project was meant to be. I mean, I understand this is different, but I guess the assurance that I would like is that people that are in there truly need to be in there.
Deputy Mayor Waxer through to Councillor Frechette. The project would operate as a mixed income housing. So there would be different rental bands, minimum rent and mid-range rent. The income thresholds for those bands would be different. Folks with a lower income would be eligible for minimum rental band, and folks with a higher income would be eligible for mid-range rent. This does allow some flexibility. What we found is that the core needs income threshold for Jasper is quite low at 36,500 for a bachelor. So if you make more, you are ineligible for affordable housing. Having mid-range rent allows us to expand that, making $36,500 is not a lot. So this allows folks to maybe work some overtime and fall into that mid-range rental band with a little bit higher income.
Thank you for that. That's well of a hope for a project of this design. I think that's what would be appreciated in this community for sure. Thank you.
Councillor Coulter.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Waxer, to Ms. Balshay. I'd just like to thank you for all your hard work and making the project run seamlessly. I think it's a much needed project that you're doing, and employees like you make me proud to defend. It's the community that you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
If there are no other questions, I wondered if there is a councillor prepared to make the motion. Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer. And I am happy to make the motion that council receive the Connaught below market housing development project update for information.
Any debate? I'll call the question then. All those in favor? Motion carried. We'll move on then to 7.3, urban design and standards. Councillor Roger.
Yes. The reason I brought this forward is because I've had some discussions with people in town, and there is a concern that council approved this budget back before Christmas, despite the fact that $391,000 of projected revenue was known not to be coming in 2026. And this, of course, is a big hole in the budget. I've been advised since then by Mr. Given that this should be replaced perhaps by some disaster relief funding. But in my view, the budget should be corrected to reflect that. And of course, the disaster relief funding is a temporary matter, a stopgap. It'll be this year. I'm not sure if it'll be next year. And so therefore, going forward, we're not sure if this 391,000 is missing this year, what it's really going to be the years going forward. The other point was that, and I learned this after the budget. I'm not sure how many other people knew this, but the rental income from the cottage clinic and two other houses in town, that's over $100,000, is going to the Jasper Municipal Housing Corporation on January 1st. So that also comes out of the budget. So the concern, quite frankly, is to protect the taxpayers, that we need to know more about the economics of this department going forward, because right now we're missing a lot of money, and we don't know for sure where it's coming from. We understand it'll be from permitting, but I have not seen any kind of study done to show how much, for example, Parks Canada has been getting over the last number of years for permitting, and we should have the information before we proceed. So what my motion would be is that the committee direct the administration to bring forward a review of the 2026 going forward to 2030 planning and development budget, including projected revenue assumptions and the historical basis for those assumptions. And I think we should have some sort of date, and I would suggest perhaps in March 9th or 16th to have this report back to us. Because otherwise, what's going to happen here is that this department's going to go ahead and build up without knowing, or at least without us knowing, if it's financially viable or not. And I think we need to know that.
Thank you, Councillor Roger. Are there Mayor Ireland?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer. Just before questions to administration, assuming some might be coming. Could I just ask Councillor Roger to repeat the motion? I couldn't write fast enough. And it was to direct administration to bring forward a review of the urban standards and design budget. I think that there was more to it than that.
Yes, I'll read it again more slowly. I move that committee direct administration to bring forward a review of the 2026 to 2030 planning and development budget, including projected revenue assumptions and the historical basis for those assumptions. This review to be done by perhaps March 16th. If March 16th is not workable, if Mr. Given could answer that, then we could choose another date. But I think there should be some date so that it's not just open-ended.
And if I may, Councillor Roger, you said bring forward this review, including, I think you said, revenue projections and assumptions and historical data. Did you include expenditure assumptions as well?
Yes, it should say that. I would agree. Revenue and expenditure.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments? CEO Given.
Thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Waxer. I appreciate Councillor Roger bringing this to the council to the table, so council can have a discussion. And I also appreciate the opportunity to comment on timing. I just note that the 16th is a Monday, and so there's no council meeting for that. If council wanted to look at a committee meeting, my suggestion would be either March 10th or March 24th. Those are both committee of the whole meetings, which is where we would introduce a report like this. So Councillor Roger, just in terms of timing, my suggestion would be that you target either of those two committee of the whole meetings, March 10th or March 24th.
I would say March 10th. I apologize. I must have had my calendar mixed up there.
Okay, so we change the motion to March 10th. Any debate? Mayor Ireland.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer. I just want to confirm then from administration 2 points. So March 10th is achievable, I take it, since you suggested that. And is there clarity about the motion? I don't want this to come back on March 10th and the report missed some document that was expected. So it's an important motion, and I want to just confirm before a motion is made and the question is called that we have absolute clarity on all around the table about what is expected if council does make this direction.
CEO Given.
Sure, thanks very much, Mayor. So a couple of things that I would say that I'm understanding about this is, number one, that we're interested in what we're calling the planning and development sub-area of urban design standards. We appreciate that there's some confusion at the budget, which we've corrected since, in that we had the overall area, urban design and standards, and we had an area within that also called urban design and standards. We appreciate the confusion that causes. And we've corrected that by now saying that there's urban design and standards, which is the department, and it is comprised of 3 sub areas: planning and development, energy and environment, and housing. And so my understanding of the motion is that Councillor Roger is specifically interested in the planning and development sub area. So that's my one understanding. And Councillor Roger, I'm looking up at the screen just to see if I can get a head nod of a confirmation that I've got that right. If I was incorrect, please, by all means, let me know.
Well-
The other, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Councillor.
Yes, to Deputy Mayor Waxman, through you to Mr. Given. I use planning and development budget through the suggestion you made earlier, but really I think we should be looking at the entire urban design department, because that's what the budget is for, the entire department. And there's no point in one part of it working if the rest doesn't. So I would amend my motion to say the urban design department, if that's proper.
As long as we have clarity, the administration is happy to provide information on whatever council likes, as long as we have a shared understanding. And Mayor Ireland, thanks for asking that question. The other thing that I would raise is that council's budget decision-making process is that you approve a single year at a time and are giving conditional of, sort of setting future years. So council has approved 2026. Council can choose to amend or change the budget following its initial approval. That's totally fine. But you haven't approved anything for 2027 yet. So just for clarity, that's one thing that you will see in the report, is that anything beyond 2026 is subject to future decision-making from council. Administration, is required by law, provincial law, to provide future projections, and council is required to approve a multi-year budget, but administration doesn't act on anything beyond the immediate sort of year in front of us. So no decisions are made for 2027. Council will be able to review the budget and give direction in advance of the budget. So that's a part of the normal cycle, and you will see the report reflect that. So if there are other specific issues between 2027 and 2030 that council would like to explore, detail around the municipality's role in planning and development, we probably won't dive into that because that's in great detail, because that is a significant discussion, and one that has not yet been decided. Council has not authorized any expenditure of funds for 2027. Council has authorized the expenditure of funds for 2026. So just with those distinctions, so we make sure we have, and if out of this report, council identifies a specific area, like the municipality's future role in planning and development, that it wishes to explore in more detail, that wouldn't be a surprise, and would be the normal course of business, because that further exploration and sort of deep dive into a specific issue is the type of thing that would inform administration's business planning, which would inform the budget that we would present to you in the fall this year, so that you can make informed decisions about what the municipality might spend and what direction we might take in 2027. So again, just in terms of the expectations, that's some of the things that I could imagine that you would see reflected in the report.
Councillor Roger.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxman, through to Mr. Given. The reason that I said more than 26 is that obviously in 26, there could be a lot of building, and therefore there could be a lot of building permits, that kind of thing. And if we're going to set up a department for the future, I think we want to know on an average year, going forward, maybe 3 or 4 years from now, what the revenue will be. There's no point in setting up a department that's built for a huge amount of development if there's not going to be a lot of development. So that's the reason that I put those years in there. And I think historically, we want to look back Parks Canada to see what they did 5 or 6 years ago on an average year, not this year. And we want to see what the revenue is going forward, what we expect it to be going forward based on the past, not these unusual years because of the fire. So that's the reason I put that in there.
Any other debate or questions or CAO Gilman have anything? No. Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer, and in the spirit of the motion, I will support the motion, but I'd like to see the report before we start determining 26, 27, and 28. I think administration has a direction, and it's fair for administration to proceed with that direction. And then once we receive the information, we'll be much better informed to start planning 27, 28, and 29. And I think that may be part of our strategic planning process, where we have an opportunity to look at the department in the context of the entire municipality. So in the spirit of the motion, I will support it in order to get the information, but certainly want to take a larger, more holistic view of how we administer the municipality. And land use planning and development, while important and while critical, I don't think can be carved out without looking at the total purpose of municipal government and what we're trying to achieve over the next 5 years.
Thank you for that, Councillor Melnick. Looking around the room, I see no hands up. I'm wondering if I guess we have the motion. And is it okay now to call the question? So I will call the question since I see no one gesturing. So call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. We move now then to the motion action list. CEO, given you may have some thoughts to share here.
Yes, thanks very much, Deputy Mayor Waxer. So administration can provide some updates on a few of the items. I believe we're on track largely for everything that's there. So most are in future years, future months. The very last item on the list, the Anglican and United Church property partnership, that came up on December 9th. Obviously that item has been completed, so we're back on what that could look like. We're recommending an MOU. This item would be deleted and it will be replaced in due course with the direction was given today. The other item is the property and business tax policy. And so there's the direction from the previous council that administration develop a property and business tax policy and return to a meeting following the municipal election. There was some discussion at a previous council meeting post-election that the desire was to have a draft of that come prior to strategic planning. So the administration is still aiming towards that. And so we right now are aiming towards the end of this month, just in terms of agenda management. We also know that the last committee of the whole meeting this month is going to be pretty heavy. So we may bump that in February, but we understood that council wanted to see a draft prior to strategic planning. So that's clear, but we'll keep it as January for now. And if we need to bump it, then we do so. Other than that, I believe all the other items are on track.
Thank you for that. Any questions or concerns? Could I ask then for a motion that the committee approve the updated motion action list? Councillor Hall? All in favor? Motion carried. We move on then to councillor upcoming meetings. Has anyone anything to report? Mayor,
Not that we require direction, but Councillor Melnick and I have an upcoming meeting of the West Jolivet Regional Waste Management Authority Board on Thursday morning, I think it is.
Councillor Frichette.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor, Waxer. I will be doing I think we're all invited actually to do a walk around Jasper Business Districts, with the Community Futures, Executive on April 2nd.
Okay, if there's nothing more, just a reminder too that tomorrow, to the public and to councillors, that tomorrow are first of the community conversations for the New Year's. That should be some interesting conversation coming up. We'll move on then to upcoming events. We have Jasper in January, starting on Friday, I believe. We have next week, NETMA, the Buzz Fest opening January 23rd, and the 2026 Tourism Advocacy Summit, February 8th to the 10th. Is there anything that's missing from that list? Mayor Ireland.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer. Not missing, but to speak to that final item that you just mentioned, the 2026 Tourism Advocacy Summit. We have pre-registered 3 attendees for that. It is one where I wish to go. That leaves right now 2 additional registrations. I've received interest from 3 different councillors to fill those 2 spots. So we have, I think, 4 choices. I can somehow choose among the councillors. They can choose among themselves by arm wrestling or otherwise. We could draw straws, or we could purchase another registration. If we do that, though, we risk the meeting on the 10th. We have a committee of the whole meeting, and if 4 of us are away, then we won't have a quorum. But we could choose to do that. It's an important advocacy summit, and as a tourism-based community, it is relevant that we meet, and so we could choose to send 4 and cancel that one committee of the whole meeting. So those are the options, and I would just like some direction from councillors as they would like to proceed.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. Could we move the meeting on the 10th to the 11th?
We could. I don't know whether staff would be available if we moved it to the morning. Typically, that's the day of the whatever it is, the debrief that staff has, but typically that's after a community or whole meeting anyway, so it could be presumably rearranged, but I won't speak for administration, they can speak for themselves, but we can direct whatever we want.
Deputy Mayor Waxer, just say exactly the same thing as Mayor Ireland, absolutely. Council is in charge of your own calendar. If you want to cancel a meeting or adjust the time of the meeting, that's up to you. It is helpful for administration if we know when things are. Moving a meeting back a day is suggested from understanding from a Tuesday to a Wednesday. Administration can adjust that. That would be a problem.
Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer, and keeping in the spirit of consistency of meetings, while the conference I've attended a couple of times is very important to the community, I'd be happy to withdraw my name so that there are city councillors able to go. And we'll have quorum for the meeting on the 10th of February.
Thank you for that, Councillor Melnick. I think that leaves us meeting on the 9th, and that it determined who will be attending the conference. And with that, I think the next item coming up is an in-camera. And I'm not certain who put that on the CAO given. Do you anticipate we'll have anything to bring back to the public after this meeting?
Thanks very much. Deputy Mayor Waxer, administration has to have the initial item added. And so our intent was to discuss a potential land matter. We don't expect any item to come out of that, no motions arising. If council had any other matters that they wish to discuss, I just want to identify them at this point so that they're properly recorded.
Mayor Riley.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer, and I'm responding to CAO's hint. There is a matter that it's a personnel matter that I would like to discuss in camera. Essentially, it falls under CAO performance. And it will not be a matter which comes back to this table for any decision once we conclude the in-camera session.
Thank you for that. Do we need a motion then to add that to the in-camera agenda? Yeah.
And I will make that motion. I apologize. I should have done that at the opening of the meeting and failed to do so, but my motion would be to add to in-camera item 11.2, which is a personnel matter.
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Motion carried. So I think in closing, I will ask for a motion to move in camera. After the in-camera meeting, we will resume to adjourn, but there will be no further updates for the public, so that this will then conclude our recordings. Thank you for that. And thank you to the public for tuning in today. Can I have a motion, please, to move in camera?
Just before I make that motion, just Councillor Roger, do you have the separate link to join us for the in-camera session? Okay, thank you.
Yes, I do.
Thank you. So I'm happy to make the motion that council move or committee move in camera at 10:34 a.m.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion carried.